Hello again, this is Vino Poppy. Third episode, let's start talking about winemakers and wine styles. Basically, the type of wine you're seeking is based upon the winemaker and the style of wine he or she is trying to create. In most cases, the winemaker has a goal in mind, either to make a dry wine, semi-dry wine, semi-sweet wine, or a sweet wine. Or in some cases, they may even have a goal of making a fortified wine like a port or a Madeira or something along those lines. You have to look at the types of wines that you like, which is, if you prefer sweet wines, you're trying to find a winemaker and a wine style that fits that particular taste that you're looking for. The bottom line is that we all start as wine lovers. We all start at one particular point. And most of us start as sweet wines and we work our way dry. Some people start with dry wines and then they have an affinity for sweet wines. But all of these have to do with the winemaker and the wine style. Also, the winemaker and the wine style, in most cases, is dependent upon the wine growing region in which they're sourcing their grapes. Because again, the region in which you're sourcing your grapes may be more conducive for white wines than there are for red wines. So therefore, those wines that you're sourcing, let's say you're in an area that is preferential to Sauvignon Blancs and Chardonnays, you may outsource your red wines and you source most of your white wines from your particular growing region because those grapes are more conducive and they're better suited for wines of that type. Let's look at the fact that winemakers may set out to do one thing and something else happens. Let's say they set out to make a dry wine, but somewhere in the process, something happens and it ends up not being, there's a process with the grapes, there's a process with the yeast, there wasn't enough bricks of sugar in the grapes when they initially crushed. So what ends up happening is something happens in the process and the wine doesn't come out to be as dry as they thought. To be perfectly honest, the marketplace is open for a number of different tastes and styles. Therefore, mistake may have happened in the winemaking process that makes it more suitable to those people who prefer a semi-dry wine. They could not get the residual sugar down where they wanted to make the type of dry wine that they wanted. Always remember that a mistake may turn into something wonderful for the winemaker. And in that process, they may also learn about their region, the grapes they're sourcing, and they may have to do something else. And the bottom line is, most winemakers can actually make magic. As I stated before, you may have something in the process happens and it becomes a semi-dry instead of a dry. But some winemakers can even alter that process and render that grape the way they want it. But sometimes that chemical stretching or using what I call tricks of the trade, those tricks of the trade may actually cause the grape to do something else and may affect the bouquet. It may affect the taste on your palate more than they had anticipated. So again, sometimes you don't want to overwork your grape if you're a winemaker. But the bottom line is that all of this has to do with the bottom line, which is for you as the end consumer to taste the wine that you want. So if you want to taste the wine that you want, you're looking at the wine style and you're looking at the winemaker and what they attempted to do or what they want to do. 9 times out of 10, all those things can be seen on the label. Most modern day labels for most of the New World wines will include some sort of scale on the back that shows you exactly what type of wine it is. Either it's a dry wine or a sweet wine or somewhere in between. And that scale on the back of the bottle will describe or will clearly tell you if it's a sweet wine, where it falls on the sweet scale, where it falls on the dry scale. Also, most wine bottles include some sort of tasting notes, something from the winemaker that explains exactly what this wine is, what you smell, what the aromas will be, what the bouquet will be, also what the flavors and flavor profiles will be once you taste it. Those are things that you want to pay attention to. If you're a sweet wine lover, pay attention to the bottle. Don't look at how pretty it is. Read the bottle. The bottle 9 times out of 10 will tell you exactly the type of wine it is. Don't assume because it says Riesling that Riesling wine is going to be sweet, because the winemaker could have wanted, in this particular instance, to have this wine reflect more drier profiles. So you have to pay attention to the bottle and what it says on the bottle. And if you're not sure, move on down the line to see if there's a bottle that actually says what you want it to say. In other words, winemaker and wine styles are one way of determining and narrowing down what type of wine you're looking for. But it all shows up somewhere on the wine label. You just have to pay attention. If it doesn't show on the wine label, that's a good reason to sometimes put that bottle down and move on to one that clearly states what you want it to state. Semi-dry, semi-sweet, sweet, dry. Some may even include the amount of residual sugar. So, again, I want to get into winemakers and wine styles so that you could eventually drink what you like.